Um, who's interested in workshopping an idea today with copywriting stuff?
Well, I was wondering, I'm interested in helping workshop that kind of idea.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, does anyone have something like particular they're working on with copywriting stuff they want to toss out? Okay, great. Well, in that case, we'll go over this guy, and we'll see if anything pops to mind. I'll ask if there's volunteers, and we'll just go on it. Whoever raises their hand fastest there. Otherwise, I'll just workshop. We'll just workshop Kate, which would be great. I was like waiting for this moment. It's like always in the back of my head. I'm like, oh man, I hope there's some day when no one has something to workshop. Okay. So this is an example, which feel free to keep it as a resource or go over it, of an ad that I wrote about. God, what I guess more like 3 years ago now, when I first moved to Portland for my mom's tutoring company. And this is still we tried other things too. We made posters and put them up at stores and different bulletin boards around. We made little mini brochures that we put on every single neighbor's door within a half-mile radius. Went around door to door and tried a couple paid ad things, and this one Craigslist ad and word of mouth generated every single piece of business that we did. We got literally zero from every other writing/marketing thing that we did outside of this, and just word of mouth as well from already existing customers. And so this is kind of a really fun one to look through and dissect, which we might actually, depending on, since we have maybe a little more time to do that, might actually be a good use of our time just going through this one for a little bit. So let's look at it in the context of these things as well that are going on. So let's start with, I'll just kind of walk through and say which pieces of the worksheet this ad ties into. So let's start with just the headline. How to find a good tutor. Okay, how to find a good tutor is really interesting. So what we're actually selling is tutoring services. But the ad is posted as advice on how to choose a tutor. And the idea behind that was something we didn't talk about too much, which is also actually a really good topic, is you want to write copy towards the people who are going to be viewing it at the specific location that you're presenting it in. So for instance, there's this idea of an advertorial, which Float On has been taking out in the Mercury. So every week we do a different, we call it Tales from the Tank, for our float tanks, and every week we just publish a different ad in the Mercury, which is essentially like a little mini article of people sharing their experiences inside a float tank. It's a little quarter-page ad that we get. Yeah, Laura was actually our first one that we threw up there.
Oh, what?
For Tales for the Tank.
Oh, yeah.
Which is because when people are going to a magazine or a newspaper, they want to read interesting articles, or they want to find out about events. They want content to read. So taking out an ad that's just an image of saying, hey, here's this service I offer, seems kind of ridiculous. What you really want to do to provide it in context is provide a little interesting snippet of something for them to read.
You're educating your audience.
Yeah, and people don't care if it's an ad. They honestly don't. That was the big thing I learned about advertorials. You see the little advertisement thing. If it's good quality content and if it actually tells them something interesting, they don't care. They honestly do not care if it's an advertisement or if it's in the paper. Most of them will never realize that it's an advertisement. So this one, the idea was going to Craigslist. What are you thinking when you hit that Craigslist page of hundreds of ads for various tutors? You're probably thinking how do I find a good one, right? And so that's why the title of this ad is How to Find a Good Tutor. It's it's catering just to Craigslist where people go and are presented with this giant list. And one of the headlines they see is how to choose a good one, which hopefully that's exactly what they want to know at that moment, is how do I select among these tutors? Advice from a retired award-winning teacher. That's obviously just the establishing expertise. Southwest Portland near Multnomah Village. That's narrowing it down even further to a specific area of influence. So if you see that on Craigslist and you are in the Southwest, you're oh great, this one is actually close to where I live. And hopefully prevents unnecessary contacts and kind of filtering on our end too, because we don't want people who are living out in Gresham contacting someone who's my mom living in the Southwest to go tutor out in Gresham. It's just a waste of time even responding to those things.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your lecture notes instead of
Okay.
your notes.
Yeah, I got paid for it.
Oh great, you can just hang on to those.
You can start your own cake. Call it pie.
Secret recipe is out.
Yeah, hello, my name is Graham. Yeah, those are much worse copy. don't try to sell with my lecture notes. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page. Yeah, let's see. This one was taken from, yeah, you can see this one was posted March 7th, 2012, which I think is today. Is that true? Yesterday? Yeah, so like this is still going, like 3 years, like we post this up twice a week just because that's how long you can refresh an ad, or like every 2 days, I think. You can take down an ad and repost it and it'll be reposted to the top.
I got a quick question about that. Do you repost the ads, or do you ever create new ones? Do you modify the ones that you repost? Do you just keep doing the same one over and over again? Do you find it's effective? So
far, the same one has been really effective. I didn't have that much time to do testing at the time before I ended up bailing out of the tutoring business to go with Float On. Yeah. But yeah, if I had more time to throw into it, definitely what I would be. And we tried different headlines. This is the best headline that we tried maybe like 4 or 5 different headlines total. And this is the most effective one. We tried like a summer headline for a while about summer learning and what to look for in like summer tutors. And that one just like already yielded way better or way worse results than this guy did. So yeah, we're still using this after 3 years, the exact same copy that I spent that like, a week and however long developing. You'll also notice reply to grambit@gmail. That's because I wrote this in my voice, like even though it's very much an ad for my mom's company. And so yeah, it starts off, is this interesting stuff? Should we tear through this, or is this like...
Yeah, I need to actually read it though. Good deal.
Okay, got that straight now. Okay, my mom, Stephanie Talley, worked as a teacher for 17 years, and I wanted to post some of the advice that she sent me on finding a good tutor. Great, so like already because I'm writing it in my voice, like it seems way less easy. She's not saying like I am a good tutor, like the fact that it's me posting it is immediate social validation. She's been running her own, and like teacher for 17 years, there's establishing expertise. She's been running her own tutoring business in Portland for over 2 years, establishing expertise, and I lost my little, let me grab one of these guys and borrow this from you really quick. Yeah, its reputation. Oh, also like how to find a good tutor. It's kind of like not overt declaration of the problem as well, which is like it implies that finding a good tutor is a problem in itself. She put together a short list of tips to send out when she can't take on a student herself. It's such simple, solid advice, I thought it would be useful to post up here as well. And that's kind of like a little internal establishing expertise. It's like saying, even within my mom's advice, like this specific stuff that I'm about to go over is even better. And then it goes through a bunch of stuff, yeah, possible sources of tutoring, experiences and background, costs, contracts, environment, and compatibility. That is very much the a lot of the frequently asked questions stuff, a lot of the eliminating risk, and also a lot of the establishing expertise. That's a show, not tell. Like we're teaching people actually like what goes into good tutoring. And also because we're writing it, we get to make sure that each one of those elements corresponds to what we do for tutoring, which is really convenient, right? Before signing up with anyone, do a Google search for complaints plus the name of tutor/agency you're considering. That was specifically targeted at Sylvan Learning Center, which is the biggest tutoring agency in town. And if you do a search for complaints plus Sylvan Learning, you just come up with like pages and pages of like people just tearing into them and saying what a terrible company they are. But was also like, and the reason we put that in there, that was the main source of like people would call us and be like, yeah, I was thinking about just going with Sylvan, or like, yeah, I had a really bad experience with Sylvan, just wanted to go with more of like a small-time tutor. And so we're trying to figure out like, yeah, kind of small ways to get people away from the big companies without like just trashing them outright. Experience and background, we've already said how experienced we are, so that's really great. Always look for credentials, letters of recommendation, and references, which we made publicly available on our website. Costs, this is where we want to, like we charged $50 an hour to start for tutoring, and that went up to like $60 to $80 an hour, which a lot of the ads on Craigslist you'll see are like for $20 an hour. So we wanted to make sure to include something that would just get them thinking about why they would want to pay more for a tutor, and kind of root that like the cheaper ones they find on Craigslist not as a good deal, but as like something to specifically even like watch out for, and not go for the people who are only charging $20 an hour. Yeah. Yeah, and then larger agencies, once again, kind of a tear into Sylvan. At large agencies, the tutors get paid only a small percentage of what you're paying. The rest goes towards administrative and assessment costs. This often means high turnover and less than enthusiastic tutors. And then all of those things, like less than enthusiastic tutors, what happens if you don't get letters of recommendation? Like what happens if you don't have experienced tutors? What happens if you are tied into a contract, like the next one with a company where that's not providing good education to your kids? These are all like problems they didn't even know, like these are declarations of problems they didn't even know existed, as well as these solutions to those problems for them. So it's kind of like little mini cycles within this ad copy of going through those as well. So you get to like establish their problems and then establish the solution to it. Like they already know their main problem, so which is why we didn't bother restating this, which is their kid isn't doing well in school and they want a tutor. Like they went on Craigslist specifically to look for a tutor to hire. So that part's done. Otherwise, the first part of this ad copy would have been convincing them that hiring a tutor in the first place is even worthwhile or what they should be spending their time and money on. But since that's established, all of the declaring the problems in life without the problems is spent, like now that they've hired a tutor, what are the problems that can go along with that and how can they be solved ahead of time? And compatibility, yeah, if after a couple lessons it becomes clear that there is a personality conflict, I suggest changing tutors, which is like a really nice, that's almost like a guarantee kind of thing, and the fact that we don't require contracts is like, hey, if you sign up with us and don't like us, go ahead and switch, and if the person doesn't offer you that choice, like, maybe you should reconsider that. It's like we get to use this section for just a bunch of digs into possible competition, which is what we used all of those for. And then the end of this gets back to more like straight just copywriting and really where the call to action is as well. So all of this holds true whether you're looking for a math tutor, an English tutor, or someone to help with general homework, or someone to teach guitar. This was, that sentence was something we also didn't talk about, which we'll talk about later, which is copywriting for SEO. So going on to Craigslist, I just did tried to figure out what the most common searches were for tutors or the most common listings, and then just made sure that all of those keywords popped up if they did a search for us. So if they type in like guitar tutor, if they type in math tutor, English tutor, general homework help, or like something like that, it'll pop up with our ad as well, just because of that one sentence in there.
What about tutors.com? Was that maybe part of it too?
No, that was just one of those like kind of establishing expertise sort of things. Like, oh yeah, go check out this extra resource. So another one of those like, here's free resources to go check out. And the more you like are directing people to even like competition or other things, I think the more they end up trusting you. So hopefully like the end stated goal of this one when I was writing it was they get to the end and are like so convinced that we're knowledgeable, / it seems like so much work to actually go through all these steps finding another good tutor that they will just contact us, yeah. So to give a full disclaimer, I used the tutor for Brain Fruit, my mom's business, about a year ago, and I fully recommend it to anyone looking for a creative, caring tutor. I would have posted this list regardless, however, and I sincerely hope that it helps. She gets frequent requests for advice, so if you have any questions or problems figuring out how to choose a good tutor or teacher, I'm sure she'd be happy to help out. You should shoot out an email to her at steph@bftutors, give her a ring at or get more information about tutoring at her website. So those last three are all kind of calls to action, and the point of all of them is to make it seem really unintimidating to contact her at all. It's not like you're going to get a sales pitch, it's just like, hey, if you want advice, like if I totally recommend my mom, but even if you just want to call for no reason at all, like just say hello, or share some cookies, that's great too. And just like lower that barrier to entry for actually taking the call to action. So that's all like softening up the call to action muscles, and at the very end, the only call to action in this entire thing is just shoot her off an email, give her a ring, or get more information, which is a really mellow call to action. But once again, yeah, this thing alone just brings in a ridiculous amount of responses. I think it gets usually like at least one response for every time that we post it.
This is like sort of if-then statements and showing and telling, like you're saying, that like instead of telling you have an if statement and then this will happen, if you choose this will happen sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, kind of a roadmap type thing. Yeah. So something we didn't include on this one, and we can talk a little bit about that. There's not a fact sheet, which there is on the website. So like the purpose of this is kind of that lead-in to get people to the website. So a lot of the stuff that doesn't occur in this copy specifically is because that's what we'll deal with when we actually get the phone call or get them to the website. Establishing expertise, obviously hit that one really hard. Presenting a solution, did that, which is call my mom and ask her for advice. Social validation we hit. We could have thrown in maybe something about how we'd helped out other students and things like that, but since it's like written in my voice, just as I'm sharing this information with my mom, putting like testimonials or something in there sounds too much like we're pushing her business, instead of like the strategy I was going for no, we're just giving advice, contact us if you want. Eliminating risk, we totally did that with those 5 points, like we nailed that one super hard. Call to action at the very end, making a roadmap, kind of at the end, we did that a little bit. Anchoring prices, we definitely did that, right? With the like, big organizations pay too much. Like these $20 things are like probably undercharging and aren't that high quality. and show don't tell, which we also definitely did for establishing expertise in every part along this line. It's like, yeah, she's a great teacher. She's also award-winning and taught for 17 years. Like, yes, we have advice for how to choose a tutor, and here it is, concretely. That's all like showing, not just telling. So yeah, that was kind of a little walkthrough of concrete examples of how all of this can be used in a singular ad as well. Let's see how much time that took to go through. We've got just a tiny bit of time left. What do you guys want to work on for the last little bit of this thing? By the way, was that useful going through the ad and kind of dissecting it? Was that good knowledge?
Yeah, it's really useful. I think it's good to see examples like this, especially ones, the working examples, things that you can kind of adapt into the writing of that.
I really like how non-aggressive it is. I mean, and when you're talking about the criticisms for your main competition, it's you're detracting from them in the nicest way possible. And, I think that gets missed so often in a lot of copy and a lot of general advertising where, I mean, especially I guess like TV advertising will do, don't go with these guys, we're cheaper and better.
Right.
And it's, I think going about it this way where it's like you almost don't care what they think about you or their competitors or your competitors. It's just a matter-of-fact statement of why you would objectively be better.
Totally, yeah. And that's really like what it goes for too. It's like, I don't know, like it's really hard to explain like what I think goes into good copywriting too, but there's something about just like actually expressing what your value is. Like I feel like copywriting gets detracted a lot for how do we get this sale, not like how do I actually show them like exactly what the value of this is, which is how you get the sale in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
In this non-aggressive, strategy, what you're doing is you're leaving it up to people to make their own conclusion,
Yeah.
and that way you're going to have a more qualified customer when they do approach you. Because if you just, push out your message and then they fall for it, they're pretty susceptible and they're probably not the most intelligent and savvy customer. But if you allow them to do their own research, they're going to know you're the best and they're probably going to have a better relationship with you.
It's kind of that whole, we talked about this a little bit, I don't know, a couple times ago at Cake too, I think, like the idea of you can either like out-educate or outspend your competition. This is definitely like the out-educate model. It's like, no, we can't take out giant billboards everywhere, but like we can actually teach people what goes into choosing a good tutor and hope that they follow that advice, yeah. Any questions about any of this stuff? Like I know that there was a lot of like general talk, so it might be hard to develop specific questions about copywriting just from this this kind of overview section. Anything you guys were curious about, or anything you were?
Maybe one thing is it's not so common that you get a whole team of people looking at your copywriting from all angles, and kind of scrutinizing it. It's usually one or two people, or in your larger group.
Totally, yeah,
So
yeah.
it'd be interesting to find any resources available for proofreading and looking at things from these different angles. Because I think it's pretty funny how much a person can justify the content that they have there and how it makes perfect sense. And it's just one person going out to the masses.
Totally.
So I wonder if you guys know of any good resources for running my...
I know of a resource, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but they do proofreading literally overnight, and I think it costs a little bit of money. I think it's like less than $99 per thing you're having proofed, but it'll get submitted to a community of people who kind of proofread it, and it's strictly an online community.
Are they American?
I hope so.
We should make a little cake resource for like going on and like editing copy really quickly and just kind of like going through that.
I'm making a note for it right now.
Something like for like myself as a graphic designer, to be able to like create something and see if it's visually useful, for presenting to a client and stuff like that. Those sort of things would be a good resource.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people around that would be pretty happy to look at each other's stuff, probably get feedback.
Yeah, totally. I mean, online you could even just do some kind of quick social validation thing if it didn't take on quickly, where it's like you just leave feedback on 3 other people's like writings, and you're able to get feedback on one of like the things you want to post up, something like that.
Just say like what I liked 2 comments was one is like a story, so there's like a narrative to it, along with the fact that you're doing the if-then dialogue, and also that you're rating yourself at a certain level where like $20 an hour is not really going to help you like maintain a business, but that your value is actually creating value. And so I think that's a challenge I was finding is like be able to educate your customer to make sure that what you're bringing them is of value and they're not feeling like you're disenfranchising them in some sense by like this other competitor is doing way less. I see that a lot in the graphic design world too, where it's like logo design, where somebody's just like spitting, like a company will just spit out like $20 or $50 logos, you know, for your company, and a lot of the times there are things that like won't last the test of time because they look so generic and look so like unsatisfying that, you know, when you first go in you don't know about that. So I think that's a really good one, is like to communicate where you fit in there and why you can argue your point.
Yeah.
So in copy, that's probably a challenge, is to write it in a way that doesn't sound like you're trying to make yourself like not to puff yourself up, but to like make yourself sound give yourself value, but not to puff yourself up, I guess.
Totally.
Not to brag.
Since, I was going to ask about the testimonials.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because I think sometimes the testimonials can be kind of sappy and like, what's up with this? Like, what's going on? I guess it's this person's friend or what's going on. But
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine they're also pretty effective. Do you have any insight, or does anybody have any insight on what sort of an audience would be most susceptible to a target audience? I mean, or sorry, not just some sort of testimonial. So like, what kind of customers love testimonials?
I mean, like the psychological answer to that is like we all do, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
Like even if we see the testimonial and we're like, oh okay, like some guy is saying this ridiculous thing, like I don't even like believe that this is not just a friend of the person. Like not having that there, you're still so much less likely to buy it. Just like from psychological, like testimonials don't do anything to hurt. You're like there's no tests that are like, oh they threw in a testimonial and suddenly like their conversion rates went way down.
Right. So if you can get them, post them somewhere.
Yeah, and one like I mentioned too on the worksheet. Testimonials, it's kind of like that equation that I gave for the proper headline. Like you can, if you do a quick Google search for like what makes a good testimonial, you'll find a lot of pages describing it. But the simplest one that I found was very similar to the headline, which was just make testimonials where they describe the benefit that they've gotten over a specific amount of time and how it made them feel afterwards. Is like kind of the best succinct way that I heard to look for a good testimonial. And like you're just looking at like a list of 100 testimonials you got from customers and are wondering which ones to choose. Those are ones that are kind of like just statistically proven to hit home a little harder.
And there were again
it's on the worksheet too.
Sweet.
But it's ones that are like concrete benefit. So something like I lost 50 pounds over 2 weeks, and now I've gone on I go on at least 2 dates a week. It's like would be the 3-part one to that one.
dating diet services.
Yeah, dating diet, exactly. datingdiet.com.
So going back to your original question, it's actually Mixergy sponsor, Proofreading Pal, and they charge Proofreading Pal. And they charge anywhere between 2.4 cents a word and 6.4 cents a word. But they'll not only do for grammar, spelling, and tenses, they'll also try to spice it up for quality as well.
Spice it up. Who are these people?
It's something to look into. It's one of the sponsors of one of the podcasts we highly recommend.
Oh, great.
So that's where I heard it from.
Thank you. That's awesome.
In terms of testimonials, do you think it's good to link to outside websites like Yelp and stuff, just to lend your testimonials credibility?
That's another thing I was saying. Like I haven't read that anywhere specifically, but just in general, I think the more objective you can make your testimonials, the more it's like this is taken from Yelp. Like your other testimonials, we have a so-and-so rating. It's great because you can't really, you can kind of gain Yelp, but even legitimate things that we have posted on Yelp get screened. Like a third of our Yelp reviews get screened out.
Yelp is one of the hardest ones to game, and like you said, they actually take out the true legitimate ones. Like Google is an easy one to game. They really don't monitor their review system.
No, they really don't. I think that's hugely helpful. Yeah, for sure.
What's this about Yelp? They take out the stuff?
They have a really intense filter. They side more on we'd rather filter more legitimate reviews than have any friends spamming or businesses spamming their own thing with reviews.
So what I
extreme examples of one or the other.
What I've done,
even how many posts they've done before on how to review things over what time period. They just have a trust algorithm that's.
They also have URL tracking. So what I've learned through some client work that if you, let's say, have your Yelp review site linked to your web page or through your email program, if they see a lot of referring links coming from a certain source, all of those reviews will get hidden because you've solicited and asked for that review in their eyes. So they do a lot of behind the scenes IP address tracking and URL tracking to help shield reviews.
They discourage you from like giving discounts in exchange for writing reviews.
Right.
and
Sure.
stuff like that.
I know because there was a point in Yelp's history where there was sort of issues about that where somebody would like blatantly write bad comments about a competitor.
Right.
And they got marked like.
Right, like competitive business.
Yeah.
Yelp's one of those systems that it's so widely used. It's kind of like you have to play the game, but they are truly one of the worst ones I think to promote. I've had nothing
That's so funny.
but bad experiences with them, and I've dealt with
It's
the
not a health
local
review
Yelp
or-
vendors.
Awesome.
I was gonna make a comment on copywriting too, which is that which has been helpful for me is just reading really good copy, from and just like being able to learn something from the way that the person speaks that's very powerful or magnetizing. There's something that they say that gravitates you towards what they're communicating, and if you can borrow that and it fits your tone of your business, it's probably going to be really useful because it's like you're just basically almost like listening to somebody else who's communicating the same way that you need to
What are
communicate.
you thinking of here?
Oh, there's one I mentioned to Ashcon too. This guy Chris Gilbo, I can't pronounce his last name.
Gillibo,
What is it?
Gillibo,
Gilbo, yeah. Gillibo, is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, he does his website's like 4/3 or the Art of Nonconformity is
Right.
if you look at the Art of Nonconformity.
He's actually his office is on Hawthorne.
Yeah. He's a world traveler, so like he basically his goal was to travel to every single country in the world in a certain amount of time. I think it was like something like 36 months or something like that. And so he's almost done with it. And on that course, he's just been writing and selling like little like how to rule the world.
Something like that. Yeah, world domination. Yeah, the world domination.
Yeah, the art of world
Obviously,
domination. Yeah. So like, I mean, it's entertaining, but at the same time, it's very useful to be able to read it and be like, wow, like just a few phrases he says there are very powerful.
And it's good too, having this little checklist too. I totally encourage you guys to go check out more copy, just kind of under the light of all of these things. Or like even if you're just going to like any business website or going anywhere to sign up for something, just kind of start like paying a little attention to it. Honestly, like that's the best thing. Like I've improved so much in copywriting in the last 3 years, and like since I wrote that ad, I hadn't really studied it until like this meeting again to kind of brush up. But like just being able to constantly look around you and say like, good copy, like, nope, I wouldn't buy that. Like bad copy, like, oh, they're doing this thing. It's like you slowly just like build your knowledge the more that you just kind of have it in the back of your head, because there's ad and there's writing everywhere.
Sure.
Which makes it a really easy thing to get like constant input into your cycle.
There's that Banksy statement that really like honed into it too. That it's like a really good state. You're being advertised to all the time, but it's an advertisement in itself. You know what I mean? To a certain extent.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
You know which one I'm referring to?
I do. I've seen that before. Yeah.
I just think that's kind of funny because it is that same statement. It's like he's telling you the disadvantages that are being advertised to you and how you can take advantage of that. So it's
Totally.
It's like a slap in the face and a pat on the ass.
at the same time, so you keep you in balance.
Sweet. So that pretty much concludes. I guess we'll get away without like an actual hardcore workshop this time. That was good going through the little bit of copy for the ad that I wrote though. It's kind of fun looking back through that today actually. One thing if I wanted to leave you guys with one thing about copy, it's just like I really strongly suggest spending some time with it. And even if you don't have something like immediately that you want to sell, I'm just kind of getting in the habit of writing things down with some of these tactics in mind. Because words are free. Like words are free. Advertising takes money, but there are lots of free places to put words these days. And you will always have to write things. There's always communication to be done through writing. Like I said, sometimes copywriting just takes the form of like an email to a friend or like a Facebook message for someone that you just like need to get something done within the next week. Like sometimes it's just like a Facebook page or like I'm throwing a friend's birthday party and I really want to make sure that like all of my friends actually show up to this. Like it doesn't have to be business-wise. Just being able to communicate well through language and understand what motivates people to take action based on your words, I think is, it's free except for the time that you invest in it, and it just can yield such great results, and you will never stop. Copywriting will never be an outdated skill that you learn. It's not like learning like crazy Facebook social media things where you have to constantly like keep up to date. And there's new copywriting tips that come out too, but like a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is the exact same stuff you'd read in a copywriting book from the 50s.
Yeah.
Just kind of like tweaked slightly for a more modern audience. So anyway, if I left you with something, it's just definitely invest resources early on in your business in learning good copywriting and practicing it. Awesome, guys. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out again. And
Another thing we want to kind of cover is what topics do you want to see covered? In
yeah, I want to
future
send
weeks.
a little another round robin of what do you guys want to learn about, or what do you want to we're just about to now that we've kind of got a venue that seems to work well for the last 3 sessions and doesn't have any problems. They have a banquet room upstairs we might be able to get for relatively cheap too if we expand beyond this space. So I think we might just have this as kind of our regular meeting place, which would be awesome. But
But our friend who cuts hair next door.
oh, nice.
I just moved out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you ever want your haircut, go to Joe. He's awesome.
Yeah, but now that we got a venue solidified down, we're really going to try and get that weekly speaker thing going a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which will be really fun. So
I'm
we
gonna shoot some speakers your way. I haven't done that yet. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
planning on that.
And I want to know what speakers to even look for. Like, what are you guys interested in, or who do you want us to wrangle out to talk on different topics?
Cole Haber was one that I thought of. You know him?
You want to take that down?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
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 And we have someone lined up for SEO copywriting. We have someone lined up for sales, and we have someone lined up for just
Cole
general,
Chatterton was the other guy.
Right,
Cole
Chatterton.
Haber.
for just general small business advice.
There's a guy who gives free advice on other copyrights, not copywriting, but copyrights. That was the other one I was thinking of. I'm trying to think of his name, but it's not what I just said. So.
Cool, just email it along to us. or
Yeah,
something.
actually.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I've heard SEO a lot, so SEO is definitely one that we have on the docket for coming up.
I was thinking of like strategic advertisement. You know, like things that you can do that don't necessarily cost so much, but are very useful for a business.
I like that. Yeah, strategic ads.
Okay.
That's good. That'll be an easy one to find too. I'll just go around and look for the clever ads that I see.
Yeah.
Contact
yeah.
those businesses.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that I found it a while back. It was like the Aqua King Hunger
Can I get
Force
the receipt back
advertisement.
after?
Super old.
The one that got
The bomb scares.
yeah,
Yeah, we could do card.
national security.
Right. It costs them all of really $100 to develop those things, and then $200,000 in lawsuits or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Cheaper than a football commercial, right? And then you mentioned the idea of also guest speaking, because we do that a bit with our group, and then I'm doing one recently coming up here. So.
Yeah, public speaking is a great topic. Definitely put that one down.
You know what might be a good resource to have public speaking? Tim Harroward.
For-
He lives in
for
Wilsonville. I
Cape
think he goes over and speaks
Super enthusiastic.
nationally about
Yeah.
design and web
Yeah.
design. He
Yeah.
worked for the Oregonian for
Nice.
two decades.
Yeah.
And so now he's a private consultant who redesigns local newspapers so that people will pick them up and read them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I mean, all about getting people to pick things up and drawing the eye and all that sort of thing.
Totally, that's sweet. Well, yeah, think about it in the meantime, guys. And if you have any ideas that you just are man, I'm really trying to tackle this in my business, or this is totally a stumbling block, I'd love to get some more information. Send them our way, and we'll do our best to actually pull in speakers from around town who are experts in those areas and get them to share some of their knowledge. Cool. Well, thanks again so much for coming out. As usual, I'm gonna hang around and finish up this beer, so feel free to kick it and chat for a while. Otherwise, you guys are also, as always, free to take off.